Joining me this morning to talk a little bit about a special part of his radio program, the host of Roving with the Arts, is across the hall. Mick Hesse is here this morning. Good morning.
It's good morning.
It is good
Scott,
morning.
It is good morning.
That's right.
I almost forgot.
That's right. It's good to see you.
Thanks.
We don't really see each other often when we're just crossing in the hallway right between the show.
In the morning, we never see each other in the morning.
That's right. But it's good to have you here.
Thanks.
To talk about this special show. And of course, you are now the standard bearer of Roving with the Arts, which has been part of KSJE now for 30-plus years, thanks to Connie Gotch, our mutual friend.
Yeah, it's wonderful that it's lasted this long.
Right, well, exactly. So with that in mind, you found some pieces of music and got really interested in coming up with a series, really, of these special pieces of music that we're going to be showcasing here for how many? It's several weeks. It's a lot of weeks.
It's a lot of weeks, and I haven't actually decided when it's going to end, because I have a feeling that the more I delve into this, the more I'm going to find, and the connections that have come out of that period into, I guess we could call it modern music, since the end of World War II, that involves a lot of Jewish composers still,
right,
who are very prominent in American music. I mean, so many of them ended up leaving Germany and settling in the United States and became famous, wonderful, very talented musicians, both composers and performers. As the symphonic genre got better and better and better in the United States, right. After the Second World War, so many of those people were involved with the growth of symphonic music, or we call it classical or serious music here in the United States.
True. And so we should tell people kind of fill in the blanks a little bit about what we're talking about. And so you've called this series Hope Not Hate.
Right. And
it's based on this music that was composed by these Jewish musicians during World War II, during the Holocaust. Some survived, some did not.
Exactly. We're going to start out with a man who didn't survive, but his music obviously has survived.
Right.
Through the hard work of many people who somehow found the music. There's a lot of blanks in the progression of this whole thing, but it's hard to imagine what we're talking about here.
It really is. No, you're right.
And I have a hard time. I'm going to learn so much doing it myself, and I may contradict in the beginning what I later find out to be either not true or incorrect information.
Sure.
And one thing I need to warn people about is my pronunciation of a lot of the composers will be incorrect, because I don't know how to speak Polish. There was a large contingent of Jewish Polish composers, and that language is beyond my my pronunciation skills.
We'll do the best you can.
So I'll end up spelling a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the music is fascinating too, because you came to me with this idea, and you had found a collection of CDs of this particular type of music, and it's a pretty big collection.
It's a huge 25 CDs, and that's only what was included in this collection. There's plenty more of it out there. It just hasn't been collected and recorded. That's another thing. It certainly wasn't recorded during the time these people were in these concentration camps.
Right.
But
so we bought it. You asked me to buy it, and I bought it, and we got it shipped here from Italy.
Italy. The man who's responsible for this collected all this stuff and put it together. He's a composer himself and a pianist. And a lot of the music that came out of this period was piano music, probably for various reasons. There was probably some instruments in these camps.
Right.
A piano.
Right. Just a piano, probably.
Just a piano.
Yeah.
Just a piano, right. There was a very large contingency of people in one place that the Germans were using as a propaganda tool, and they were allowing these people to both compose and perform, but only for a Jewish audience. I mean,
interesting.
These are things that are hard for us who live in a free world to fathom.
True. But it also helps maybe answer the question of how some of this survived, that time, because I would think maybe most of those people, because most of those people were wiped out, unfortunately, and a lot of maybe the evidence of what they produced during their time at the concentration camps were wiped out, except in these cases.
They actually wrote it down on scraps of piece of paper. I read a report about them. Many of the prisoners were working in dry cleaning or laundry facilities.
Okay.
And they would actually sew written music into the hems and the pieces of clothing that was being sent out of these
To hide it.
Yeah,
okay.
And sent out
so
to
it wouldn't be
someone.
confiscated or right.
I mean,
Amazing. And that's how it survived.
that's
One of the reasons, at least one of the stories.
One of the stories how it survived.
Yeah, amazing. Well, let's listen to a sample, if you
Sure.
could, from one of these CDs that we have. And this is by a composer named Tyberg.
Tyberg.
Right?
Right. And there's
Marcel
Tyberg, and he's one man who did not make it out and was murdered, if we will.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, murdered in
Right.
in one of the camps.
Okay. And this is, do we know the title of this piece?
This is from his Symphony Number 3, which begs the question, there must be a 1 and 2 out there somewhere, and I'll get into that when I present this gentleman on one of my programs. But this is from his 3rd symphony, and this is the 4th movement, called Rondo Allegro Vivace, which is a typical, normal way of calling movements in symphonies.
Sure. All right.
Go ahead.
Let's give a listen. A little bit of music that's soon to be featured on Roving with the Arts in Mick Hesse's Hope Not Hate series coming up. This is music from composers who were imprisoned during the Holocaust in Germany, and that was Marcel Tyberg we heard from. And it was, I don't know how to describe that, a little anxious sounding.
But hopeful.
Right.
I think, under the circumstances, how somebody could come up with writing something that was jaunty and...
Yeah, upbeat. I mean, it certainly wasn't like a dirge, I would say, but fascinating. And he wrote this while he was imprisoned.
Correct.
At the concentration camp.
If you don't mind, I'll read a little from the liner notes on this CD. And one of the interesting things is both Scott and I grew up near Buffalo, New York.
Yes.
And this piece was premiered by the Buffalo Philharmonic under the leading of their conductor, Joanne Falletta. Not too long ago. I mean, this is a relatively recent phenomena. And she has been a huge proponent of music from this time as well, performed live and with a real orchestra.
Sure. And I mentioned there are people hearing us this morning, Mick Hesse, that weren't even aware that this music existed, that this happened.
I was one of them.
You know, that this is now being performed live by orchestras like Buffalo Philharmonic and on the radio, like your program.
Yeah, it's a chapter that should be opened up.
Right.
Not unlike the Black Lives Matter kind of thing, that there's an awareness now of things that go way beyond a lot of us, you know.
Very true. Well, tell us about Tyberg.
Let me just read a little bit from the back of the CD cover. Rescued from oblivion before his tragic death in Auschwitz in 1944, Marcel Tyberg's Symphony No. 3 sets out on a poetic journey with shades of Schumann and Brahms, Bruckner and Mahler, playful instrumental filigrees, colorful counterpoint, and captivating harmonies, which we heard in that very short...
We did.
At least
I heard it.
I picked up on that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to be in the same sentence as Mahler and Brahms is a huge thing, right. You know. I mean, two of the most well-known and played composers in Western music, you know. And here Tyberg was doing the same thing, only his life was cut drastically short in 1944.
Right.
You know, it's tragic for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
And we have another piece we want to hear from the CD too, right? You want to play that now?
Yeah, sure. This is his piano trio.
Okay.
In F major, written between 1935 and 36. And we'll hear the rondo from this trio. This is piano, cello, and violin.
Some of the music from imprisoned composer Marcel Tyberg that we're playing for you this morning. It'll be part of a series of special programs that Mick Hesse is producing for us on Roving with the Arts called Hope Not Hate, and it's going to feature music of composers like Tyberg and others, and you're planning to play this on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
Correct.
So beginning later on this month, so the
Yeah.
fourth Tuesday of January, which is going to be January the something. As soon as I look it up here, 26th.
It was 26th?
26th is
Okay.
the Tuesday. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that's coming. But you get it ready by the 24th, and then we'll be all set to go on the air. But again, this is fascinating music, and again, you have so many CDs, so this is going to be a long-running series. People will be hearing it, for months.
Months.
I would say.
Well,
on
I've been doing the
KSJE
box
and
series.
learning about it. Oh, yes, right.
That's been going on for months too. But
Yes. He was quite and he wrote so many of those cantatas. Holy
Good
smokes. Yeah.
but they're great. That's the nice thing about it, is it's just wonderful music.
Well, and for folks who are listening, I mean, if you listen to each of the progression, because you're playing them in order, all, how many?
222.
Thank you. 222 every Tuesday.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Mondays.
No, it has been Tuesdays.
Has been Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to now intersperse the Tuesdays with
this
and Bach
as you wrap up the box.
As I fade out of Bach.
I got you. Okay, now I'm with you. I understand. So, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating, and just the stories behind what we know of these composers. As you mentioned, some died in captivity, like this person, Marcel Tyberg.
Yes.
Others were freed.
Were freed when the Allies
when the war ended.
When the war ended,
Yeah.
and the camps were freed. But
right.
To live under those conditions, not knowing, they couldn't know. There, obviously wasn't internet, but there was no communication with the outside world, and they had no idea they were going to be saved or killed.
Right. And we've heard the stories, of course, Anne Frank and her family and the others that, some lived, some died, and, it just was horrible, obviously. And so, but yet some of this music was written during this time, and that's what you're featuring.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about this morning, everybody. So there's another composer that we selected to play this morning, and her name is a little bit more challenging than Mr. Tyberg's.
We can get Ludmilla, that's her first name, but her last name, I'm not even going to try to pronounce. It's Peskarova.
Peskarova would be how I would mangle it,
okay.
But that's
and it has those funny.
It has a little accent and some other things that we're probably not pronouncing correctly. So
I will take I'll try on occasion to mention the correct. But this is a female composer who did survive.
Okay.
She was born in the Czech Republic in 1890, and she attended the teacher training college and worked as a teacher near Brno, B-R-N-O, between 1912 and 1933. In 1943, she was deported to Ravensbrück, where she remained until April of 1945.
Okay.
So this is a year after Tyberg was killed.
Right.
In 1944. She wrote songs for female voice choirs and compiled a collection of her works after the war. And she died in 1987.
Wow.
So we're going to hear now a couple of her songs for soprano voice, or female voice anyway, and piano.
Okay. Let's give that a listen.
Okay.
And we'll hear what that sounds like this morning.
Über meine Jeshuri
Little sample from some of the music that we'll be hearing during Mick Hesse's Roving with the Arts special series of programs on music composed by musicians that were imprisoned during World War II by the Germans, by the Nazis in the concentration camps. And that was a sample of Ludmila Peskarova, is how we're
going to go with
pronouncing it without any better way to do that. And that was her written for the female soprano.
Voice and piano. Right,
yeah.
Right.
And there's another piece we want to play on this,
we'll
off of the CD as
and again,
well.
You know, as I listen to this live in this way, it does sound hopeful to me. It's not, well, for one thing, it was in a major key, so that helps a little bit.
Right, but make it sound more hopeful, right?
Yeah,
instead of a minor key.
It does, and I think we're going to find more and more of that as we go into this, deeper into this. That's where the hope come from for these composers who, whether they were writing for the future, it's kind of hard to know, you know, or were they writing it for themselves, maybe as a love letter or something to a person they knew. But I think what we're going to come out with at the end of this is that there was a lot of hope in one of the most dire conditions available to that a person could imagine.
Right. And that says something about the human condition, I think,
does.
too. That even in the face of all this adversity, you look for hope in your situation because...
Amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah. So let's hear from this composer again. This is a little later cut on the CD that you have. And tell us about this cut, number 25.
I honestly don't know anything about it. Other than that,
well, you have the liner notes. I thought maybe you something over there.
It's in Polish.
Oh, okay. Well, then you don't know anything about it. Right. Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's all right.
But this is cut number 25. Then we'll listen to this.
Call us that.
What we will do here again on this special program here. This is again Ludmila Peskarova performing this piece. More music there from the series of special programs that Mick Hesse is producing for us here, part of Roving with the Arts on KSJE. Music from these Jewish composers that were writing these songs during World War II, and usually from imprisonment.
While in prison, yes.
All of them,
yes.
All
of them, except obviously the ones who survived continued to write
and compose.
But what we're concentrating mostly on the music that was actually written in these camps,
Right.
prisons.
Right.
Let's face it.
Exactly.
You know.
And so you are pulling these from a series of music, a collection of music that KSJE has purchased, and that will give you weeks worth of content for these programs.
A friend of mine started this whole thing, and I met him in Silverton, Colorado, at a brass band festival because his son was playing in the band at that time. And we became friends, and it's just one of those serendipitous kind of things, you know. And it was he used to live in Buffalo, and he was a professor at the University of Buffalo. And he was a big supporter of the Buffalo Philharmonic. And so we got to talking, you know, just in general.
As you do, sure.
Yeah,
right.
About music. And however, he had moved to San Diego. And he would come out every year to listen to his son play in the brass band up there, and we got to be friends. And then his son actually invited me to do a surprise 90th birthday party for his dad in San Diego. A friend and I went out there and we played trumpet duets with piano, and for his 90th.
Right,
know?
right.
And that's when then he started telling me about this wonderful music that he was aware of through Joanne Folletta and the Buffalo Philharmonic, and
amazing,
and that's how it all came about. You know? And
again, and then you searched for it and found it at this for sale from this place in Italy.
Italy,
and I don't even know if it was a store. I guess it was a store.
It's a kind of museum.
That had published this music, or at least gotten a hold of it, and we were able to buy it from them.
Correct. It wasn't available here, at least through my research, and I was hoping maybe we could find it on eBay or something, you know, but that didn't pan out, and you graciously said, let's do it.
Well, I think we should do it, and we were able to, thanks to our supporters, so thank you, businesses and individuals who support KSJE. It allows us to do things like this, which is, I think, a great thing. So, and I haven't heard of any, I'm sure there's some other radio programs that feature this music, but I haven't heard of too many.
I haven't either. It's certainly not as a series, I don't think. They may throw something in periodically, but I might be wrong too.
Right.
We're going to find out that somebody else is doing the same thing.
That could be. But as you mentioned, some of the philharmonics, some of the symphonies are maybe discovering this music just like you are and performing it.
Yeah, particularly the big stuff, you know, particularly Teiberg and that. I mean, imagine writing a symphony in a prison camp.
Right. No, I can't imagine. Well, and with only
pencils, you know, it's crazy.
And only a piano, I guess, and yet you're doing this full orchestration of the different instruments, and you know. But
well, I have to now try to find both symphonies 1 and 2, since I have a recording of the 3rd symphony.
Right.
So I tried to find some. So far, I haven't been successful, but it must be out there. Although some composers have thrown away early music and said,
if they didn't like it,
I don't like that. I wrote number 1, but let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Sure.
You know, so.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Well, we're looking forward to it and learning a bit about it too, as I know you are, and you'll be learning along with the rest of us, I think, as you present this music, and we appreciate you bringing it to us. I think that's another great thing, and for our viewers and your fans, this will be aired live on the radio, of course, beginning on those dates in the 2nd and 4th Tuesday. And then, of course, it'll be as a podcast for folks who miss it.
Okay, that's great. I was going to ask you about that because some people have asked me for
We are
podcast.
Planning to do that.
Great.
So folks can find it on our website and listen to it later. So
super.
It is Hope Not Hate on Roving with the Arts, and it begins later this month in January on Tuesday, January 26th at 9 a.m. Mick, thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Good to see you. Mick Hesse, host of Roving with the Arts, my guest here on KSJE.